Hello, listeners and adventurers. This is Wyatt, and welcome back to Area of Expertise. You are currently listening to the second part of last week's episode on making memorable characters. So if you haven't listened to that yet, I recommend catching it before listening to this episode. Otherwise, happy listening. Hello, welcome back. So last we were talking, we were going through kind of like a building unique characters with unique backgrounds is what we were last talking about. And kind of going off of that, I want to go into kind of character natures. And what I mean by that is, how does your character interact with NPCs, maybe other party members? How does your NPC view the world around them?
I think that, one, it's part of the backstory, but that's the one part of the quote-unquote backstory that will change as you play. Like, you have an idea of how you want to interact with people, but you sit down and you play your first couple sessions, and that might change. Like, I want this person to be kind of, like, grizzled and, like, not taking any bullshit from anybody, and you might play it like that, but you might realize, like, okay, I kind of like that, but that's not fun for other people. So I want to be interactive with other people and facilitate their fun while kind of going in that same vein. Maybe you shift that to be like, he's no bullshit when people are addressing his party negatively. Maybe he's a protector instead of just I don't take no bullshit from anybody. He's like, don't insult my party.
Instead of just being outwardly aggressive, he has a purpose now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the whole taking bits and pieces, like the inspiration is the same thing with nature, I think, is that you don't use, like, he's quiet as a crutch. Like, you can be quiet, but there's, like, someone is more than just being quiet. So, yes, like, a shyful nature is a really, like, you can be shy and that's like your character, but it's not your whole character.
Yeah. Like, what if, like, just kind of going off of that, what if your character's only shy in certain situations?
Exactly.
Maybe there's a certain, like, a certain group that your character doesn't like being brought up. Like, if you're talking to someone giving you a quest and they mention the Thieves Guild, maybe you don't like the Thieves Guild. You kind
maybe
of
you're a
pipe
rogue.
down.
Yeah. I watched this. There's a guy on YouTube that I watch a lot, and he has a video on making a character, and it's like the 5 steps of making a good character. And one of them is pain points, which he explains as what are things that your character will not budge on morally. Like, my character is stoic and reserved unless he sees a child in danger. Your pain point is the child in danger. He will act on that, and it's something that will rarely change about him.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like the player's handbook does really well. It gives you really interesting, or like examples of really interesting pain points.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the first bard I made, his major character flaw was that he couldn't resist a pretty face. Yeah. So whenever Devin, our DM, would throw an attractive NPC or an attractive quest giver, he would kind of get on our nerves. He would kind of see how far he could get. Yeah. Before he was shot down, and that was his thing. Meanwhile, the party would be trying to do the quest they just got, and he's like, "Hold on, I'll catch up." And that was, in retrospect, maybe not totally fun for the whole party, but
it gives you a good gauge on how to go from there.
Yeah, it gives you a nice, like,
and it's your character.
Way to build your character, because maybe he learns from that. Maybe he's like, "Oh man, my."
Something drastic could happen that changes his attitude.
Yeah.
Your character's not going to act the same way towards the outside world from level 1 or 3 to level 20. There has to be character growth.
Exactly.
You're not going to be the same asshole rogue who wants to steal everything from your party from level 3 when you just met your party to level 20 where you've died, like you've almost died with these people.
Yeah, like
you've seen your party die. Like you've seen, like if you make it from 3 to 20 with the same character, you're not, like, your experiences on quests, you've seen a character die, and these are basically your blood brothers and sisters, there's no way you're going to act the same way towards them as when you're level 3.
That's such a barbarian way to put that. How eloquent.
Thank you.
In case you didn't know, Thor really likes to play barbarians.
They're the best.
Oh,
you
but
just grab a big stick and whack something really hard.
it's just as D&D intended.
Just as God intended.
And that transition between character development doesn't have to happen just between like 3 and 20. That could happen between level 3 and level 5.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of players, when they make their characters and they're playing them, they get this sense in their head that the lower their level, the less grand adventures they can have.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case, especially when you're developing a character.
Yeah, like every quest is as grand as you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like the DM is there to be more of a guide, more of like push you in a direction, and not so much as like a tug you along this path.
Mm-hmm.
He pushes you in kind of a direction, and you can go wherever you want in that direction. I feel that's like the DM code is like, I don't want them to be railroaded into a scenario that I want them to be in. I want them to find out the solution that I put in the game on their own terms.
Mm-hmm. I think that goes hand in hand with what you said the DM code is. I think that the player code is make the most of it.
Exactly.
Like the DM's going to push you in these directions, and they're gonna kind of give you these points to go off of. You as a player needs to know how your character reacts to these things, and how to make the most of the situation, and how to bring out your character traits in that.
Mm-hmm.
And those will change on a case-to-case basis. Like, think of yourself as a person. All these experiences that you're having are compounding, and you might not be the same person you were a year ago.
Yeah, I'm not the same person I was when I was 10 as I am now.
We calm down a little bit and get over ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that transitions really nicely into our next topic, which is it's kind of a point of contention amongst those in the D&D world.
Okay.
It's the most abstract part of character creation. That's a character alignment.
And people at home, no one can see it, but all 3 of our hands have locked so we can have our conversations.
I've geared myself up.
We are all ready to throw hands at any moment.
No, we had to do it to him.
If it is any indication, probably any channel that you go to or any podcast that you listen to on D&D, they will have one episode entirely devoted to alignment.
Oh yeah, it's like we're not gonna fully cover everything that alignment can spread because it's such an abstract thing.
Yeah.
But
because
we'll touch on it. You know?
Because you can say that lawful good is more evil than chaotic evil.
Yeah,
there's an argument for that.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, because a lawful good character can be more detrimental to a party than some chaotic evil characters.
Well, and you can have lawful good villains. Like lawful
Yeah.
good villains are common too.
That's
you
gonna be
can-
my campaign.
You can have villains that are. I'm trying to think of an example of a villain that's their version of like a utopia. Is everyone? No one can do anything bad because everyone is being surveillanced at all times. Like that's their like a 1984. But that whole thing of like they're doing something that they perceive as good, but in that essence, their lawful goodness is contradictory to what everyone else might want.
And it is so subjective what the alignment table is, because you can swing any, like, pop culture people have been placed in these tables,
And they're fun.
Yeah.
I like looking at those, but
but like
you could argue any one of them.
yeah, but like Batman is in chaotic
God,
good,
Batman.
but like
Yes, he is.
but to the police he's chaotic evil,
Yeah.
or to Superman he's this, or to different viewpoint he's that. It's all subjective on who you ask and what mindset you're in when you ask about that character.
It's funny that you pulled that one. That was the every time I go to like a message board or like to Reddit and people talk about alignment, they always say like, the first example is always where do you put Batman, and everyone is like, I put him here, and then like kind of like an internet fight breaks out.
Well, no, you don't, because he did this one thing in this one obscure time.
But to the police, he is the epitome of the bad.
Well,
so
Was that mean the actually?
The actually.
Yeah.
But
Actually.
like the reason that comes up also is that different people write Batman in the comics,
Yeah.
and different people will write him different ways.
yeah,
He's such a morally ambiguous character from universe to universe, from comic book to comic book.
and you can even see that in like movies, like Christian Bale's Batman is not the same as George Clooney's Batman, which isn't the same as
Adam West's Batman.
yeah, or Ben
Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck's
Yeah.
Batman. These are different iterations of Batman that are completely different. Like Ben Affleck's Batman brands people, and then they die in prison. That was said in Batman versus Superman. Contentious, another contentious subject. But how is that anywhere of a good thing to do?
Exactly.
Like you're making them basically a target to die. So whether or not the blood is on your hands, you retroactively killed that person. So how is that good for your conscience? And then we can do that for every Batman.
You can do that for literally any character.
Yeah, like Superman could be.
Welcome to the Batman of Expertise podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry, Batman.
Where's the Batman podcast now?
Batman's my favorite.
The BOE.
But like Superman is the quintessential lawful good character in quotation marks. But some people can see him as lawful evil because he wants to control everything.
Yeah.
Like his version of utopia is that there is no, like, no one does anything bad, and he can hear a heartbeat from a million miles away, and he can tell when someone's lying. So automatically politicians, everything's out of the window because Superman can say, you're lying, I can tell from your heartbeat. And whether or not he does that for good or bad, like that's so subjective. Yeah, for America that's good because he fights for us. But to Russia, who has a different ideology, he's lawful evil, or he's evil.
So then what if we woke up tomorrow and Dungeons and Dragons 5.1 is released, and in this 5.1 there is no alignment table?
Perfect.
It would be a hot topic.
It would be very hot
it would be a very big point of contention, and it's like we have to ask ourselves, like, at what point is alignment not necessary?
Well, in the earlier editions, I'm pretty sure, I don't think that the alignment table actually came in until like 2nd or 3rd edition. They didn't have that.
It was more God based.
Yeah, but now, like everybody will tell you, your alignment is based off of what you do. You can't use your alignment as a crutch or I'm just playing my alignment. No, what you do determines your alignment.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky, is because when does your alignment become your character?
You can use your alignment as like a guideline on how you want to play your character, but you can't use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
You can't play like
I
Boblin the Goblin and him be like his alignment isn't, like you guys said, his entire character.
Yeah.
He can have different wants and like goals in mind that don't necessarily fit his alignment.
And like being chaotic evil doesn't mean that you're going into a village and just pillaging the place every chance you get. That just means that you're out for what you want and you're a selfish person.
Yeah. I have always understood the tiers of alignment as being evil. If you are everything you do is for a selfish reason, you're evil. If everything you do is for the principle of it, you're neutral. If everything you do is for the good of others, then you're good.
That's like kind of an example. I have in all of my years playing D&D, I've never once played an evil character.
I've never once played a good character.
Yeah, until very recently. In Devin's campaign, I'm playing a lawful evil warlock, and he isn't going to go door to door and just start hacking people up. That's not his shtick.
No.
Because that's not what lawful evil is.
Yeah,
But, like,
he is here for the betterment of himself and the betterment of those around him. His actions might just be a little questionable.
and like even like what Devin said about the selfish, the principle, and the betterment of other people, those can be flip-flopped because the whole trope of kill a few to save a lot comes up.
And like we keep referencing comic books because it's kind of or comic characters because it's kind of the easiest, like Doctor Doom. He's lawful evil because he wants to create a universe where he rules because he wants to save it.
Yeah, like, but in his mind, that's lawful good. That's not, well, he's just good. Like, you can't really, like, label lawful to chaotic on that.
He's doing it for very virtuosic reasons.
Yeah.
In his mind.
Altruistic
anyway.
evil.
Which is, but, like, in real life, like Darwin, you could say, like, he's saying, like, nature evolves and finds a way to survive no matter the circumstance. That could be chaotic good, that could be chaotic evil, depending on if you're a devout Christian or if you're a atheist. Like, it happens in real life too, and it's so subjective on how people's viewpoints. It's like having an opinion. Your opinion could make sense to you, and it's the right opinion, but it could be completely incorrect and wrong to somebody else. And that's the essence of the alignment table is your opinions as a character dictate who, like, what alignment you are. And like, I wake up tomorrow and I could be not a completely different person, but I could have a crappy day and I could just want to sit down and play video games all day. That's selfish. That could be me being neutral. Or there's a kid that falls off the bike and I go out there and I try to help them. That's me being lawful, like, good. Like, I mean, but, like, that's the whole thing is that, like, it's fluid. Like,
yeah,
It's almost like you can't put a alignment stamp on any one thing because almost every action itself is its own alignment.
I think the reason that it's such a hot button topic in D&D is because people put way more weight on it than it needs to be. Just as we were talking about earlier with, like, backgrounds and your flaw, your bond and all that, you should be using that sort of as like a guide to play your character.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be the hard and fast manual of what do I do here, and you glance at the scribbling on your palm and it says chaotic evil, like, and you're like, oh yeah,
well,
evil thing.
Let me kill them.
I'll be honest, if there's a character that I really like and I've been playing them for a while, I will get online and take the personality test as that character, like, and get feedback from those personality tests. Like, get in the mind of the character, take that personality test, and see where it goes from there.
And that's good. That's really investing
I enjoy
in your
doing
character.
that.
And the last kind of point that I want to talk about with alignment is should your party's alignment play a major role in your campaign? So we're just bringing out the heavy hitters here.
Yeah.
Should it?
That's a tough question.
Should it? No, I don't think so.
I think to a degree.
So, Devin, you think it shouldn't, like, at all?
Should your party's alignment play a role? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I
like,
don't think that it shouldn't at all.
So, like, if you sit down with your party and you ask them, like, all right, what are you guys' alignments? And you have, like, a neutral, a lawful good, a chaotic good, and a chaotic evil. Are you gonna say, like, okay, you all have to be good or you all have to be evil because my campaign is a good campaign?
I don't think that characters. I think that characters should very rarely be restricted.
Yeah.
If the party wants to be lawful good, neutral, and chaotic evil, I will not stop them from doing that. I will inform them that there will be consequences to all of their actions, and even inter-party conflict. If the lawful good player is playing their character correctly to that alignment, they should always be at the throat of the chaotic evil character, if that's how they're playing them.
As the trope of those.
Yeah, if you're playing the trope of those.
Yeah.
Because it's like a job. Sorry to keep bringing up in real life stuff, but I think characters are people.
Oh no, that's
And they have their own personalities. They have their own. I understand it's a game, but it's also like that's what gives them gravity, is making them people, and so it's like a job. Like not everyone you work with you like. Not everyone that you go to school with you like. Not everyone that you ever meet in the world you like or have the same exact viewpoints, or you don't live in a vacuum. You don't agree with everything everyone ever says.
Thor, you said that maybe the alignment of the party might pull a little bit to the campaign.
It does, in the sense of being lawful good in an evil campaign is hard. Which, going into the campaign, you kind of need to know like what direction you're going. Whereas the last one I did, it turned out to be an evil campaign, and I didn't tell anybody. This campaign I'm doing is kind of like morally ambiguous. Going into a campaign, you need to talk to your DM to see what your campaign is going to be centered around. Not centered around, but kind of like the steps it goes. That way you don't feel left out if you're the lawful good paladin and everyone else is kind of like neutral or evil.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this kind of goes against everything that I made.
Well, I think that it kind of goes against everything that you made, but as long as all of the players at the table are okay and nobody's actually getting angry or upset with one another, I think that having the lawful good character, assuming that you have told your party that this is an evil campaign and somebody doesn't bring a good character to the table anyway, then you can be like, hey, I told you that this isn't an evil campaign. You're welcome to play that character, but I told you, live with those consequences. But if somebody brings a lawful good character to your evil campaign, that can add a lot of cool role-playing moments.
That's what I was going to say too, is like that'd be a really good role-playing aspect, is like them trying to deal with this evil that they see, and then it can, like, it's character development. It's going from 3 to 20 again. It's how they progress down that line. Do they fall into it, or do they think that, like, or do they get this god complex where like they're the holy light in this stench kind of thing.
It's like when we were in that campaign where it was Zaka and Valen, our friend Chase had his sorcerer paladin, and he was lawful leaning, but he was more towards the good and the letter of the law. My character and his would often butt heads because my character had a god complex, and he thought that everything that he did was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and you followed your law, and his law was the law of the land.
Yeah, they were different, so we butt heads, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It's fun to have a little bit of contention every now and then, because not everybody gets along, like you said.
Yeah, like you're gonna have arguments with people. Like you're not, like I said, you're not gonna always be like in agreement with everybody. But
that's boring.
Yeah, like living in a vacuum is boring.
Yeah.
In a party and everything where it's like, yes, let's all go do this heroic thing together because that's what we all want to do.
You need that one person who's like, I don't really want to go do that thing.
Play a video game. If
why
you
are we
do
doing
that?
This?
Yeah.
Have stuff that's programmed to always want to do that with you.
It's I guess the overarching theme of this section is it's contextual.
Very contextual, very subjective.
Yeah, everything's different from case to case.
So just like the alignment table itself, the why it exists, and it's the role that it plays in the game that we play is entirely dependent on how you use it.
And it helps new people to the game find footing in something.
Yes.
That's what a lot of these tools are to help new characters, which isn't a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we all learned, is by using these tools to get to where we don't need these tools anymore. It's like starting with the long equation in math, and then you learn the shortcut.
Yeah.
You need to know the process before you can just go, okay, this is how this is done.
Yeah, it's meant to be a stepping stone to active role playing.
Yes.
And that's a pretty solid transition into our final topic, which we're going to talk about is a little bit of role playing. Like how deep do you go?
full bore.
Just
Yeah,
I
all the way.
Joaquin Phoenix. I need to get into character. That's how I have the most fun. I completely detach myself.
I honestly started disliking Devin when he played Zaka.
Stop. You're supposed to disassociate. Just because Zaka's an asshole.
Well, no, like, but in my character, because I get into my character too, I hated Zaka. Like, as Valen, as that, like, druid who is around life and stuff, seeing this lizard man, which was I found out more of a man than a lizard.
It was a snake.
Sorry, snake. Found out like he's manipulating these undead creatures and like perverting the sanctity of life and stuff. Like me getting into that character, just I started to resent like almost Devin in a way, just because like him and me got into our characters so much, and we would butt heads. Like him and Chase would butt heads, and it would like I said, he almost killed me one time because I knocked a potential familiar off of his chest, off of his shoulder.
Because as far as Zaka was concerned, that not even meant, because Yanti don't feel emotion. That was more useful to him than you were.
Exactly, but we also played it to where we had conflict. That's the important thing, is that conflict will happen no matter what. If you're playing your character, conflict's going to happen. There's going to be things where you find yourself in a very
like a back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth, whether it be good, bad, neutral. Like you're interacting with a NPC, you're not just going to go, yes, hello, I would like to buy a potion. No, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll walk up to the potion salesman and I ask for a potion, and then if the DM wants to give it, like there's something going on there, you can interact with him. Like if he gives him like a wonky voice, you can interact with him. It doesn't like, and not everything has to be that though. Like there, like everything needs a balance. Like not every person has to have like a crazy thing that happens. Like, but like not everybody has to be a robot.
Yeah, it's like know when to roll, know when it's your time in the spotlight.
Exactly.
So that everybody has fun. Like you're not just there to role play yourself. You're there to role play with others.
Yeah, you definitely can go all out, show up to your session in your character cosplay, and put on a voice and really like ham up, like get real theatrical with your character.
You can theater in the park this as much as you want.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you shouldn't expect everyone else at the table to have that same role-playing mindset.
Nobody's lesser or better than you because you're not doing as much or as little as others.
Yeah, like I don't slam Wyatt for not having 3 pages of backstory, or like being role-playing a Russian character who is in character all the time. Like I don't say that like Wyatt's lesser of a player because of that. Yeah. I think Wyatt has his own merits, whereas I have my own merits.
Everybody has their style.
Exactly, and not one style is better than another, except for if you're a dirty power gamer.
Power gaming gives me pleasure.
Hey, we're gonna talk about that later.
We'll do that later with our true power gamer friend.
I just want to be in the corner going, "That's all wrong. That's all wrong."
So I guess, do we reach the same moral of the story in this episode that we did last episode?
What, be good?
The
be good.
Other people are gonna do it different, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good tagline for D&D.
That's a good analogy for life and D&D and everything.
Yeah. From now on, put that at the bottom of the picture when people are listening to the podcast. People will do it differently from you, and that's okay.
Yeah, like everyone's area of expertise. I used it. Is something different.
Roll credits.
Is something different. Like there's not one thing that is. I mean, there's not one area that is universally concrete.
Exactly. And none of that is more apparent than when it comes to physically role playing your character.
Yep.
It's such a
What's the name of the game?
it's such a rite of passage almost.
It's dynamic.
Especially when you're a DM and you fire up the eccentric shopkeeper voice, and everyone in your party just like looks at you with this, what is this jackass doing?
And you know
Exactly.
what? Don't be afraid to do things like that.
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it and go with it.
And you know
because
what?
the players' reactions will more often than not be their characters' reactions too.
Oh my god.
Yeah. When you finish that encounter,
The potion shop dude that had his right eye always closed and he gangled about.
Oh yeah, that guy. Or I was thinking about
Captain Blakely.
Captain Blakely. I was thinking about in my evil campaign the sweatshop owner who had the child labor,
Oh yeah.
who the kid would try to run away, but he had a shock collar on.
See, my character wasn't involved with that, so I don't remember it.
Make sure that you're having fun with your character, and make sure like other people can interact with that character.
yeah.
And the more goofy you look as a DM, the more like likely that players will kind of lean into that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like switching to like a GM tip, but like as a player, like if your DM is being goofy, like don't feel afraid to jump in. It helps them. It'll
Yeah.
make you. It'll help you.
Maybe the other people in the party are too shy to be goofy and roleplay. It can really open up an interesting group dynamic. And that's something else I want to talk about when we do an episode on player etiquette, is
Boy.
knowing where to interact with the players in your party.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I want to talk about here is the problem that we all face. It's usually more apparent when newer players are making their first character, and that's Mary suing or making the too perfect character.
I have a pretty negative view on Mary Sue's. It's hard for me to get on board with any character that doesn't have a readily apparent and readily detrimental flaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, like what you said, like it's a very easy beginner flaw is to make a character with no weaknesses.
Yeah, everyone
Because-
wants to be Hercules.
Yeah, because you want to have the answer for everything. Like, oh, we fell into a pit. I have this 50-foot rope that I found, like that I bought.
Yeah.
Or, oh no, we ran out of rations. I can create water. But like, you can only spread yourself out so far before, instead of being a Mary Sue, you become a jack of no trades. To where you think that, oh well, these caltrops will help if we have like a stampede coming after us, or this hemp rope will help us if we fall into a pit trap, or this or that or that or this or this or that. Like, I need to make water, I need to make food, I need to do this, I need to do
Yeah.
that. When you think that it's a Mary Sue can easily flip into a jack of no trades, because you don't put your party into account and you become useless in that party.
It also opens up kind of a less interesting line of play.
Yes.
When nothing bad happens, or when something bad happens and you immediately know how to answer it. You don't have those amazing heroic moments. A little bit of a D&D story. It is when I tried to make a character who was the perfect combatant. It was me trying to make a dragonborn fighter who could kill anything with his hammer. And at the peak of this campaign, if I remember right, Devin, you were running it. It was we were facing a dark wraith, like a dark knight almost.
Yeah.
And it came down to everyone in the party except for our wizard and myself were unconscious.
Oh, was this my Halloween episode?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know where you're going.
And it came down to our wizard was too far away to be effective and at too low hit points, and I was basically one hit from death. And from the room before, I had picked up a couple of sticks of dynamite. from an earlier encounter in the dungeon. So I decided to strap the dynamite to the end of my hammer, knowing that dynamite explodes under large pressure, and I charge the boss. I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory, and in my head I was like, yes, this is the perfect way to go to end the encounter because my character is so incredibly geared for this event. And the boss, long story short, the boss rolled better than me, and I died. The explosion went off, flung us both back. He got up, I did not. And it was sort of the moment in my head where it clicked that it's okay. That was my character's flaw the whole time, was thinking that he was invincible.
Okay.
Was his flaw.
Yeah. And being a power gamer, you come dangerously close to trying to marry Sue. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't like power gamers because they try to marry Sue and be good at everything. But you offset that with role-playing.
Yes.
You could be fantastic. Like, I'm a wizard. My strength is basically nothing. My constitution is low. I'm great at casting spells,
You're really
and
good at reading books.
I'm great at damaging things with spells and being utility, but I'm arrogant.
Yeah.
I am, that's, even if it might not seem like it, I'm arrogant, and I think I'm better than everybody else. That's my flaw. Like, I'm weak, I'm feeble, I can't swing hammers at things.
To a degree, wizards go from a point of being a character to a Mary Sue at like mid-teens, like
Yeah.
15. I think that's when the wizard starts to become a very Mary Sue. I have an answer for everything. I have spell slots to do.
That's just the nature of
Yeah,
the
wizards
class
are kind
itself.
of inherently
It's no
there
a lot.
for all
Yeah.
things.
But like how they get around it is range.
Mhm.
Like counterspell, one of the biggest Mary Sue spells is 30 feet or 60 feet.
60 feet, I'm pretty
60
sure.
feet. But like you're within spitting distance of a big baddie who's casting whatever. But like you have this Mary Sue ability, but you have to get like into range.
That's risky.
Exactly. So I think that's how they get around it. But if you build it to where you don't have to do that and you have like this incredible range, which I don't know if you can do that with Wizard. Like if you can extend the range, like how you can do with Warlock with your Eldritch Blast.
So wizards don't get an extending range.
I believe
Okay.
that's like the big handicap of wizards
Is range.
you get really powerful spells like, Fireball at early level and Wish that literally bends
yeah.
Reality.
time and space around you.
Simulacrum.
But you
best
have
spell.
you have like 40 hit points at level 20.
Yeah,
and,
you're super soft.
Mm-hmm.
And your range isn't great.
Yeah.
So it definitely like has its drawbacks of wanting to be a power gamer, but also fitting the game that we're playing.
And I don't think we can talk about Mary Suing without talking about meta knowledge.
Oh yeah.
Because I think the quintessential Mary Sue uses meta knowledge when their character had no idea, like, not to.
Well, that's just player etiquette.
Yeah, that's a big player etiquette thing, but I also think it's a character thing. It's like to role play your character, you have to be in the mindset of your character. Would your Dragonborn fighter know that dynamite under extreme pressure blows up?
That is definitely something that I'd metagamed.
So, but like that's not like you were newer at that time.
Yeah.
But like,
That was like maybe 3-4 years ago when we did that campaign.
It was almost 5 years ago.
exactly. But like it comes with like playing the game longer is knowing what your character would know. Like I'm playing a Aarakocra currently, who grew up in a city all of his life and is like basically a pigeon. He doesn't know what streams are unless it was in a city. He doesn't know what rivers.
You mean the sewer?
Exactly. That's what's in the sewer. That's what like fecal matter and all that stuff runs down is streams, right? Or rivers, or what like he's seen like a few trees, like. So you wouldn't be able to like know inherently that a troll is evil. because he's never met a troll. How do you know that a troll is evil? Like, but besides stories of like, oh yeah, trolls round up children and eat them in stews, or like witches, but like,
if you've never seen one, how do you know?
exactly. So one story I have about Mary suing and meta knowledge is that a player that I used to play with was awful about it. We were in a forest and we were walking up to a tree and we see this troll being eaten by this like carnivorous tree. And my character being a frontline guy saying we need to kill this troll, not ever seeing a troll. And this other character who has he grew up in a city and he just went on this voyage. He says, no, not all trolls are evil. And I proceeded to stop the campaign, and this is me like being a kind of a bulldog. I'm like, how do you know that he wasn't evil? How do you know that? Like, how does your character know that? Oh, well, he just does. Well, you just don't know the theory of relativity. You just don't know. Like, you just don't know how to drive a car.
Yeah, it's easily one of the hardest things to do when you're role playing a character.
100%. Like, it's
disassociating your active, living, real world brain from the brain of this character that you're making.
And that comes with experience too.
It comes with a lot of experience.
You need to play several characters before you really start to
kind of like to kind of put a capsule on the topic of Mary Sue's without upsetting too many fandoms. Some examples would be Rey from the new Star Wars. Drizzt is a huge Mary Sue. A lot of people have said that.
Goku.
It's just they have no detrimental flaws, and they're always able to solve every problem nearly instantaneously.
You kind of like toe that line of having a character that's really good and that you enjoy, and one that is actually believable.
Yeah.
Like nobody likes to fail, but that's part of life, and it makes things interesting. If you turn on the cheat codes, then why are you playing this game?
That's why you don't play Grand Theft Auto with cheat codes on all the time.
Yeah.
It's fun for a few minutes, and you get tired of it because you can just do whatever.
Yeah. So I guess the real secret to making a memorable and interesting character in that case would be, give them some flaws.
Yeah.
The flaws are the secret spice.
The struggle makes them 3D. Like,
give them flaws and know them like you know yourself.
Yeah.
And when it boils down to it, those flaws are going to be, what you have your most memorable moments about.
Exactly.
No one's going to remember the perfect character that slayed the dragon and got the princess.
No, because that's been told time and time again. No one wants a King Arthur.
They're going to remember the ogre and the donkey that waddled their way to the castle and got the princess.
The donkey that doesn't stop talking, and the ogre that just didn't want to be around anybody else.
No one remembers the detective character, but everyone remembers the psychopathic bugbear that danced.
Yeah. A little bit of an
inside joke.
Sorry.
Everyone listening is like, what is that? Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed our show, you can support us by leaving a rating on Area of Expertise. If you are listening on YouTube, a like or subscription is a great way to let us know you want more. This has been AoE, and we'll see you in the next one.